Anyway, today with us is an amazing guest. So this guest is serial investor who has dabbled in different industries like education, like technology. In the technology part, you have things like um
Gaming,
gaming,
fintechs,
fintech, AI.
edtechs, AI,
Yeah,
deepfakes.
yeah. So that's a lot to unpack. And before he got here, he went through an entire journey that I'm sure we're going to touch on to get there because AI is the big thing now. Education, fintech is absolutely out there. So just tell us, please, how did we get here? How did you get here?
See, my background is a bit diversified. Studied engineering, did some government roles. I'm originally from Turkey. Did a couple of years in government office till I think 2010. Then I left to Middle East, UAE, another, I think 7, 8 years over there in different entities, agencies. Since 2017, I started my business with a partner from a bank, ex-banker. He started as a consultant 2017, 2018. Mainly we were handling some complex M&A activities in different rough geographies, identifying potential buyers for some, lucrative businesses, mainly in education, healthcare, or these kind of stuff. So when we came to Nigeria for a couple of opportunities, we said, okay, nice place. Why don't we have anything, to this place? So since 2018 or 17, we are present in Nigeria. We
Well,
upload.
sorry for cutting you short.
Sure.
You've been to like a lot of countries. I mean, you've handled M&A activities in different industries. Why Nigeria? Like,
Okay, Nigeria is not only place that we operate currently. We have an offices in the UK, Brussels, Dubai, Muscat, and Abuja. So we are a bit diversified. But Abuja, Nigerian office, is, I think, the third office that we opened, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think third office we opened. Uh, why Nigeria question is, Nigeria is, Virgin maybe. Yeah, we call
A lot of opportunity.
yeah, we call like that. See, there are challenges in Nigeria. Everybody is aware about those challenges. Even a couple of my friends from UAE, they were saying when I was moving to Nigeria for business purposes, they said, "Are you crazy? It's a very complicated country." I said, "Okay, life is complicated. So
in general, yeah.
if Nigeria is complicated, so that will be maybe double complication.
Yeah.
So okay, complications are not impossible to sort it out. So I have a way to sort out my complications. So we started small. We worked with an acquisition here. It took, I think, 1.5 years. So it gave us a quite solid ground during the acquisition of that project. Then we start to operate, find out the opportunities, what we can do, how we can do. My technical and analytical background, along with my two other business partners, one is a lawyer, another one is a financial guy, banking guy. So we combine those forces. We put into different types of, perspectives. While we were making our consultancy services, we were investing in different domains, mainly in technology. Some in real estate, Aisha. We invested into a student accommodation in Abuja. So Nigeria, one part from, business. Everybody knows Nigeria in few things. Yeah. Natural resources, underground minerals, rare earth minerals, precious metals.
Population.
Everybody knows. Yeah, but population, the overground resources, human beings. So what I realized, the huge population, 250 million, speaking English, you don't have any problem to communicate with them. At least some level of education is in place. That means decency and educational level can cope up with you. There are some missing components like hope in the people's, perspective, which can't be imaginable, understandable as well. There are some problems like, uh, deprived areas that we have. But still, you can see from those guys' eyes. I've been all over Nigeria. I'm not talking about Abuja. I'm not in a comfort zone speaking from a fancy place. Yeah, of course, right now in a fancy place, but I've been all over Nigeria. When I say Nigeria, Most of the Nigerians never ever seen those players.
Yes,
Yeah, if you take a look to the
that's true.
northern states, vast majority of the people in Nigeria never been into that. Still, also those people who lives in those states never been to the other states. So I have a bit different, perspective and understanding of those, So I believe in the people of these countries.
You've dabbled in a lot of things and your team is diverse. So I'm sure one day or the other you might hear the word impossible. What does that mean to you in business? Do you really believe in impossible?
Well, according to my personal belief, I don't know if it matters. There is nothing impossible in my life, to be frank.
Yeah.
If something has been done or potentially can be done, why can't I do?
So
Yeah.
yeah. So leading from that question, usually we find that most entrepreneurs or the ones we're exposed to, they've had a certain traits or habits that
Yeah.
you could have trapped from childhood.
Yeah.
From when they were young, you find out they have some things that made them what they are today.
Yeah.
So in your case, when you were a kid, would you say there are things that you had innately that has led to you being a risk taker? Because you took a risk coming to Nigeria. Most people wouldn't do it. That's a risk, high risk, high reward. So what is it? What characters of your childhood do you think influenced it? Is it something you learned in the process?
Okay. Actually, quite valid point, Osman. I grew up in a happy family, not very wealthy, but really happily. And I had the opportunity to do whatever I want to do.
Mm.
I was the guy who can do whatever he wants to do as a risk taker even. When I was 13, 14 years old, I was there to tell my father I'm going out with my friends for a couple of days of vacation. I take risks. The problem, when you start to take risks, it's okay. But the most critical part on making decision while you are taking a risk is knowledge, information, wisdom, intelligence. There are some certain experience, certain elements you need to have. If you don't have those elements in your hand, and if you take a risk, sorry, that you are stupid, yeah? But if you are judging properly without being biased to your ideas and stuff and making a proper decision, you may fail. Doesn't matter at the end of the day. I failed multiple times. It doesn't matter. The problem most of the failures to those, people, they think this is the end of the life. For me, failures are a kind of, learning curve. I fail, I try to get up, but I don't run when I get up. I try to, find the support to get up, stand, put my, spine straight, some small steps. Then if I get the pace, I start to walk and run.
So is it something? Let's say now we have somebody, he has no skills in business. Like the people watching it, someone might be he has the intention of going into business, but he has no skills. Is it something you think someone can learn or?
Skills can be built,
Yes.
but prior to build some skill, you need to know what you need to build.
Yes.
I'm a communicator in my old businesses. I'm not. I do decisions. I make decisions, but I do not make those decisions based on my own personal experience or instant knowledge on that subject. I have a team of people behind me who walks me through all the facts and things. And I need to skim all of those, consume, learn, digest, then build up a concept, then work on it, decide, then put, joint decision structures. And at the end, if you want to make your decision, you can take that decision. But remember, everything starts with some knowledge, basic foundation. If you look into a building today, you can't put a building without making a proper foundation. I think today's world, one of the major challenge, what I see from my own experience with the young generations. I have a daughter, 21 years old. When I was 21, I was thinking I can do anything, whatever I want to do. I was the king in my mind. I was living a dream and I was acting in my dream. That's the biggest challenge I faced in my entire life, to be frank. That's the reality. I don't have boundaries in my today, even though today I don't have any boundaries in my thought. I think out of the box. But to be frank, I know how to act in the box. Because when you start to act everything out of the box, you are detaching from the reality. So that's the biggest challenge. So
So it's a balancing act.
balancing, yeah, and it comes with the, I think, by time, by knowledge, by information, reading, understanding. People are, today consuming social media knowledge as an informative perspective platform. So alone, without putting any background reading in it, without getting any additional supporting stuff in it. That is a bit hard. Asking questions to ChatGPT to get, answers. Yeah, it's really strange, isn't it? Trying to find excuses or ways forward from that one. The boss gives a task to the guy. The guy sends the task to the GPT, and he just still output and sends to the boss. Boss is idiot, doesn't know how to prompt that one the same way to you. You did. Even the boss has maybe Pro Chat GPT or some other. I mean, we are heavily interested into the AI and tech stuff. We have a special company which we invested few years back in deep tech, quite comprehensive. I mean, how to say, tangible solutions with the agentic AI modules and stuff. I sometimes utilize those ones when I need to utilize. The answers are enormously, reasoning properly. It gives you incredible output. And today's world, I don't know how many billions of people are using GPT, Gemini, whatever it is. They think they're getting every answer correct, and they consider as a granted answer. I think, Osman, as you rightly said, the skills can be developed. But what skills needs to be developed based on some foundation we have to put forward. If you don't know what you want to do, if you want, being a businessman is not the thing. There are rules to become a businessman. There are certain rules. Businessman or businesswoman or business person, whatever name it. I am sorry, I'm not gender bias on Baba as a second language of English. I can't do all of those myself. I take the opportunity
To mix it up.
yeah. Is it necessary to become a business person or
Really?
or something else? This is your path. I told you, Aisha, a couple of days ago maybe, there was a very nice poem from one Iranian. I can't recall the name of the lady. Two lines actually. She says, bird dies, remember the flight. I like that one. I mean, the bird will die eventually when you see that fly. The eagle, think about an eagle, goes, planes from, sky down to the ground. You see that it's a life itself, that's the life. That eagle will die eventually somewhere else. We will never remember. Is it the same eagle, the one that we saw, or some other eagle? But we will remember that flight. How he was flying. He was flying over there. So that's the journey of life. So you can't put, conditions on you. I am going to be a businessman. I have one set of rules in my hand. I need to build those skills on me. I'm sorry for that one. Bullshit. I'm telling you.
So people tend to think discipline is like you have to wake up at this time of the day, do this, do that, take a cold plunge or whatever. But the older I get, the more I realize I find people who are successful don't really have those routine. Waking up this time. So what's your what worked for you? Are you the most disciplined person, or do you just do the right things and then other parts you're not really?
I was not a successful student when I was studying at uni. It took so long to finish. But the reality is one thing. The school was not fit to me. I was not fit. I mean, I was very fit to the university, but normally I realized the schools are not fit to me. But I had an obligation to finish that one. Otherwise, I have to pay the whole dues of the, uncompleted school. So there was a pros and cons. So I decided to finish by the time that I have to finish. So to finishing the school requires some discipline. But being in the school, prolonging that process is an undiscipline. Okay, I have some certain disciplines in my life. Yeah. I never give up from my hobbies. If I have a time for my hobby, I follow that hobby. I enjoy doing some stuff. I continue doing that. I will never give up my fun stuff. luxuries, if you mean. It's not luxury, actually. It's my personal time. I do play golf. I don't take calls when I'm playing golf. I keep my phone in flight mode. It can reach me. That's my own personal time. And I do this one 3 times a day, at least 2-3 hours every play, right? So that's my freedom. I don't want to share my freedom with anyone else. Of course, my business partners, my assistants, they know that I am in a certain place. If something goes south, they will come and find me and yes, and that's some special circumstances. But first thing first, you have to have your own life that gives you joy from all those ones. Reading is one. I enjoy reading, following some certain politics, economics, newspapers and stuff. I spare time to read every day, couple of hours maybe. But the routine brings discipline, brings routine. Routine brings uh,
Habits.
habits. Habits sometimes are dangerous when you are. So quite often traveling is changing my routines. When I feel myself, I am drowning in a routine. I kill my old routines. I have nothing, in my life except my family, unchangeable. Anything. Business. I change my business direction. I find alternative business directions. That's quite important to be frank. Your realism is the key element. When I say realism, sometimes you are connecting yourself to a business wholeheartedly. You think this is the best thing ever you can do. You will have some what they call spiritual attachments to those ones, feelings to your business. Sorry for French, but is your fucking feelings on that one. So I think routine is a bit problem onto that one, but discipline and routine you need to balance it. If this depends on whom, If you are talking about 14-year-old kid, 13-year-old kid, and if you give the freedom of undisciplined life, oh,
It's chaos.
you may end up in chaos and rubbish, right?
Yeah.
But if I, from my age perspective, I'm 47 years old today. I've been through that, so I understand what is okay, what is not okay. First thing first, you shouldn't detach yourself from the reality.
Yeah.
Kids can do that one easily. Young generations can do this one easily. But I think, in all nutshell, you need to balance your discipline. You need to balance your, undiscipline into this one. You need to find. There is a nice book that's very quite, I don't know. Nigerians doesn't read a lot those kind of stuff, but George Orwell wrote.
George Orwell.
George Orwell, yeah. I'll tell you, coming up air. If you coming up for air, most likely you may 1984. You
Or
may
Animal Farm.
Animal Farm. These are all
Speed Acro Offline.
Yeah, these are quite very well known dystopias. But coming up air is a bit different. Coming up air is a person who was living in Bletchley somewhere in Milton Keynes in UK, and who was born in his hometown was in somewhere in Reading. I can't remember the place. And he was at the age of somewhere 50s in the mid retirement section. He was suffocated at home, all those, working habits and stuff. And he followed the route from Bletchley to Reading to his hometown to see his childhood stuff. He was looking for an escape. When you are in the water down there at sea, you are just looking for an air to grasp a small piece of air. He find that one in that small journey from Bletchley to Reading. It is quite, enlightening for me as well. So I said, what is my way for coming up? What's the way for that coming up for air? So I need to find out. So everybody needs to find their way. You might be in desperate condition. You might be depressed. I am sometimes, the COVID gave me that one. I'll give you that example last night. Yeah. I know I talk a lot. Sorry.
Good for it.
Eyes, she's rolling her eyes. So stop on us. But this is time we have to move ahead.
I'm actually loving the conversation, particularly the coming up for air one. Sometimes I want to come up for air.
Everybody looks for air.
Yeah.
And air is free of charge. There is no money for air.
You know, sometimes you feel like you're
Get it?
stuffed. Yeah.
You don't know how to get it, you'll die. And that is killing your hope. I'll tell you why you are looking for air. And if you know that there is no air when you get out, you know you're for sure you know there is no way to get out. That means you lost your hope. I never lose my hope. In this life, there is always air. Air is being granted by God to us in this atmosphere. 19.5% of oxygen in it and whatever other gases in it. And if it is less, we die. If it is high, we explode, whatever it is. A proper ratio given by God or nature, whomever you call it, I don't care, whatever. I believe it as God. It's being given free of charge. And we have the 100% rights to take it. If someone is pushing us down to the water, we have to find a way
To fight for air.
to fight for that air. We need to come up for that air. That's what I learned from that one. COVID gave me rubbish things. You know, maybe I don't know if you remember. I was here when the lockdown happened. First day I left actually, before the lockdown. I moved to Dubai. From Dubai, they locked down Dubai. I moved to UK. I ended up at home. My wife was happy. Kids were happy because I haven't seen them for a couple of months before the COVID, when the things are very,
Fluids. Yeah.
yeah. I was on a business trip from January till March, from Central Asia, East Africa, West Africa, Middle East. I don't remember, but
We're having a good.
I don't know how many flights we did. So I went home. All of a sudden, everything stopped. We started to meet up on Zoom, not Zoom Teams. We were running Microsoft environment. So I never put my suits. I was on my pajamas. Next day, I never shaved. I didn't shave. Next day, I didn't comb my hair. I didn't make my
A lot of
1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. My wife said, "You look this despite you live in our home." What?
people went through that really.
Desperate. I was in depression. To be frank. Suddenly everything changed. So I said, "Okay, let me fight out of your routine." Yeah. To my chaos.
Your chaos.
Yeah. They took my chaos out from my life.
But ironically, your chaos was your calm.
That's the thing. You know, in material science, there is an ordinance in the chaos. So that's what I believe. That's what I believe. So my chaos is my ordinance. Yeah. So my ordinary is my chaos. So I like my chaos. That gives me energy. But it consumes you. Consumes you a lot. It consumes a lot. Yeah, thanks, God. So I learned from those days, not before only COVID. Before then, maybe I couldn't diagnose that one as a problem, but now I can diagnose it, take a diagnosis on it as a problem, depressions and those kind of stuff. So I realized to find something else to do. So I start to work. I develop some other additional hobbies, find a way to create another hobby or routine for my life to get rid of that, Whenever I feel myself a bit depressed, I change
Change your
routine.
routine. A lot of people, things are rapidly changing. The professional atmosphere is changing. We have AI, we have new things coming up. And there's a lot of uncertainty at the same time with economy and everything. And people kind of still lose hope, even though you just spoke to us about hope, about, catching some air. What would you think you can advise Nigerian young people who are full of life, who don't know where to direct that energy, when they're losing hope?
So the main thing, personal development is one of the most important things. We Nigerians, everybody, ladies, they sell clothes, wig, some consumables,
Makeup.
yeah, consumables which can go fast and they think they can make billions of nairas. Maybe they can, I don't know. Maybe I'm not interested. But at least they need to understand, or men, usually you see them. Not only kaftan, they do also lend, cars to buy and sell spare parts. I agree, doing trade is good. I have no problem with it. But
Scalability.
not only scalability, at least put some behind logic in it. What do you want to achieve at the end of the day? So get some.
So it's like a what's your why kind of
What
thing.
do you want to do at the end of the day? If someone comes tomorrow, buys out all of those outlets who are doing these things, you will be jobless. Like AI.
Yeah.
AI brought into the industry and many jobs are diminishing, right? So the question is very simple, Aisha. We need to develop our personal competence, personal skills. And this cannot be done on Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. These are fast consumables or Google search or GPT questionnaires. Of course, you can benefit out of all of those ones,
Yeah.
but you need to create a foundation. When you are studying, do they teach you in the very first grade how to read Shakespeare? They teach alphabet, right? Why?
It's the first domino.
First domino. When you are studying mathematics, are they teaching you algebra in full?
No.
They are teaching you numbers, the meaning of numbers. What are the positive numbers? What is zero? What is negative numbers? You start to add up, you start to subtract, you start to multiply, then divide. There is a process. Now, people think, with the social media, becoming
A distorted view of the process it takes to reach where you're trying to reach.
I don't know if you heard about the guy, the Instagram guy, Salt Bay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where is he now?
He's quiet.
He's not quiet. He's gone. He's not in the business at all.
What's he doing? He
I
does.
don't know what he's doing. The question is here. I don't know. The question, you can shine in the social media once.
Actually.
Then, if I'm going at it properly, you can be a star which has been dead a long years back. Somebody will see you maybe thousands of years later. Seriously, guys, yani. But then you'll be vanishing out of air, space. So I think better thing, what makes us, real humans. Okay, how much is your screen time on your mobile?
Do you want me to tell you?
No, you don't. I know because how much you have, how many hours you have. This is a very important question. How many hours you have on your screen? And vast majority of the kids, youth in Nigeria, I don't believe they have less than 9-10 hours. And they do their homeworks on mobile screen. They do their, studies on their mobile screen. They do their social media things on their mobile screen. Attention span is reducing. The videos are too long for them to watch.
Yeah.
Guys, start from one point. Try to reduce your screen time to half, if not, quarter. My screen time in my mobile is 1 hour 20 minutes average in
In a day. In a week.
yes, in a day you have average week coverage 1.2 hours. Week average. Daily we have 1.2 hours I'm spending.
1.2 hours.
Yeah. My screen time. My call hours in my meetings on my tablet, which is my work thing, I will never exceed 8 or 9 hours in a day. And I do my work on my tablet. I do my Excel sheets on my tablet platforms. I limit myself. And the remaining time is my own time.
Which is fair, honestly.
What's your story with books, and did that help you in your personal development journey?
I gave you an example from Orwell, right? I have few, 20th century writers, which I adore them. They built my current, how to say, knowledge or mental mind. Vast majority are early 1900s, mid 1900s latest. Mainly Dostoevsky, Russian literature. I read a couple of different types of literatures. Novels. Mark Twain is one of my best, to be frank. Oscar Wilde, I like their poems and stuff. English writers, name it, whomever you want to name it. Especially, Victorian era and later than the Victorian eras. I love them. So those things are giving you a different type of thinking ability. And then you build your, this gives you not analytical thinking, verbal reasoning ability. And you need to build some analytical reasoning ability and some abstract reasoning ability on you. Doing some puzzles is important to create your, abstract thinking. Abstract thinking is quite important in life. You can't dream things in a balloon, in an empty zone. Abstract reasoning of that one is not an empty thing. You develop on a base, on a certain foundation. That's the key point, Osman. You need to build, and that cannot happen out of blue. You need to train yourself. How you will train yourself? Lots of ways to do that one. For verbal reasoning, when you read something, build up, conclusions into that one, understanding the context. You need to be able to read and write those ones in a different way to explain yourself to the public. Numbers needs to make some sense to you.
Yes.
Some analytical reasoning you need to put in it. So try to do some, number works on your stuff. But when you spend 10 hours on a mobile, going through short TikTok, whatever, I don't have those ones, unfortunately. Despite we have the digital marketing concept in our businesses, but I don't have my personal Instagram or TikTok, or I have a Twitter account following some political and economical, outlets, not more, a couple of handful, agencies. But think about it. If you stuck yourself into the 10 hours of your day into those ones, how you will spare time for yourself
For yourself.
to develop your
those
own
skills.
personal skills? I'm not against technology. I have a technology. Despite we have a gaming studio, we have some games on the market currently. Lastly, I will tell this one, Aisha. Whatever I do in this life, I'll try to find a way to joy in it. I'll try to find a way. I don't know, when I was driving into the north of the Nigeria, people said, "Are you idiot? Crazy, how you can go to those places?" Of course, we took some measures for the security purposes, but I thought this will happen maybe once or twice in my lifetime. That's well joy, yeah. What's the problem? Let me try my best.
You're explorative.
Yeah, I did. I did explorations in different locations of the world. So I think more than 78, 80 countries in my trip list I had.
That's amazing.
For some people, yes. For me, routine.